Good afternoon and welcome to COVID and the Law. This is your legal light and help law in these trying times. Today, we continue our discussion of keeping you in a place where you will be able to comply with the law and not find yourself wanting and suffer prison or fines. Today, we ask you to wear a mask or face the law. The mandatory wearing of mask, the new law. What exactly is in it? How will you get into trouble in trying to comply with that law? I've got two lawyers, like we did last week, to help us. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, COVID-19 task force team na amuju medi omugino so mushia na se wonhye bia won se
atika ni nose mask ne se na body ase on se nose mask
okay
na you know ono so ye be ma na adwuma ye enti obi a ho hye me se why wa dey say won sha ya wo be ba tu ni
it is the omude ashe ne sem se won tete amne nim ye he se de be ko timu se mami we so sa wo ma china omude amane se on corporate nti
Okay. I was in shape. More money, then you know.
Yeah, we be so fear baba. Na wa say nose mask. Enti yen so yate e won COVID-19 municipal assembly COVID-19 task force. Yeni yate e gum say obi a ye be hu a won share nose mask no. That's what I say. Can't fall by empire. Yeah, move on. Boko, but to get them, you got them also is free. Surroundings also is free. We are banning at you over.
Face mask or face the law. Welcome once again. This is COVID and the Law, your legal light and help law in these trying times. And just gone by, you saw the clip of law enforcement dealing with citizens who were found not to be wearing the mask. In fact, the two people all had the mask, but except that they may not have worn it in the way it is required. So, the prison officer and his friend asked them to do some work, to clean the gutter, to sweep, or to cut some garbage away. Is that part of the law? We have those questions from you as well, and we will answer them. My guest this afternoon, Sheila Abeye Bachman. She is Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service. Thank you very much for making time to join us.
Thank you too for inviting me.
Right. Also, Musah Ahmed, Head of Firm, Ahmed Legal Consult, and he joins us on Zoom. Thank you very much for making time, sir.
Thank you.
Great. So, like I said earlier, like we did last week we had a lawyer from the Attorney General's Department, Andrew Adugu, in the Volta region, bringing us a perspective on how in Ho, the Municipal Assembly had passed a bylaw where they are exacting spot fines of between 150 Ghana cedis to 500 Ghana cedis for non-compliance with the mandatory wearing of face mask. We also had Roselyn Kalaji, Mrs., who also took us through the fact that if you are attending a political activity, if you are attending a church, if you are going to school, you need to wear the mask. And if you did not wear it, you'll be violating the law. And she stressed also that the opening of schools is not compulsory for the heads of the institutions. It is a permissive language used by the law that they may open. So if you are ready to disinfect and follow all the protocols that are required, then you may open. If you can't follow the protocols and you open, you are in trouble. Right. So let's begin with Musah Ahmed, who is on Zoom. Reading the EI, that is EI 164, particularly paragraph 1, wearing of face covering. What does it say about the face mask?
The law basically says that whenever you are at a public place, you must have your face mask on. The second situation is that whenever you are leaving your house to workplace, or you are leaving your workplace to your house, you must also have your face mask on it. And if you fail to do that, you are subject to the sanctions of the provisions in Section 6 of the Act itself.
All right. So when you say Section 6 of the Act, you are referring to the Imposition of Restrictions Act.
That's right.
Okay. That means if someone does not follow the directive in the EI requiring him or her to wear the face mask, face shield, or face covering whilst in public place, whilst they are leaving their abode, or whilst they are leaving or returning to their abode, they are liable, when arrested and taken to court, to face sanctions of, what are the sanctions?
Well, the law imposes sanctions in respect of a breach,
right,
of the provisions of the Act.
That's right. Okay, we are having a little difficulty, so we'll let Ahmed hold on and catch a little, a breather. Then we will bring to you one of your questions by way of what we call case of the day. Let's listen to this one. I was driving alone to work in my rolled up AC car and asked why I was not wearing my mask. I showed him my hanging mask and explained that I was not in a public place, and besides, I was alone in my car. This annoyed him further. Counsel, what is your take on this encounter? Was I right or wrong by raising this issue with the peace officer? Ernest Asigri sent in that one. Thank you very much, Ernest. And we have similar other questions like that, which we will raise. So let's come to let's come to Sheila. Right. Thankfully, many of you do not know Sheila is a lawyer. In this kind of situation, if we can start with that, was the gentleman wrong?
Yes, Ernest is wrong.
Okay.
Ernest is very, very wrong because the law does not give an exemption of being in a car and having rolled up or having your mask hanging by you. The law says a person shall. And so if you're found in a public place, so Ernest thinks that he's in his private car. So perhaps the private car is not a public place. But from the narration, I get it that Ernest was driving because he says, I was driving.
Yes.
Now let's look at 1B of the law. It says leaving or returning to your place of abode. So once you are driving, you would be leaving or returning. In fact, if you go to the definition of public place, we are defining public place in the context of the Criminal Offences Act.
Okay.
The Criminal and Other Offences Act 29. In section 1, the definition section, we have public place defined. And it includes a public way, which will be the road that he is also driving on. So you may be in your vehicle, AC rolled up, alone, no possibility of contact. But this law is very strict. If you have any defense, please save it for the court. When you are arrested and you are taken to court, you may raise your defense there, and it is up to the judge to use whatever laws applicable to decide. But as for us police officers, we will arrest you once you fall within this provision. If you are in a public place, and I'm sure through the discussion we will come out with all the circumstances of public place.
Okay.
Or if you are leaving or returning to your place of abode.
I would like you to take us through the whole gamut of what represents a public place. Because in Ernest's questioning, you find that he relies on the issue of public place. Okay. And like you said, he was under the assumption that once he was in his private car, his windows rolled up in his AC, the policeman didn't have to, ask him to wear his mask. He had the mask, but he left it hanging. So let's go. What is a public place according to the law? Okay,
so a public place here includes a public way, and I'll go on to explain what a public way is.
Okay.
But so this is a quotation from the law.
Okay.
It includes a public way and any public building, place, or conveyance to which for the time being the public are entitled or permitted to have access, either without any condition or upon condition of making any payment, and any building or place which is for the time being used for any public or religious meeting or assembly or as an open court. Now I said I'll go back to public way because public way is a public place.
Okay.
And a public way includes any highway, any marketplace, any lorry park, square, street, bridge, or other way which is lawfully used by the public. Now under the EI 164, you may not even fall within any of these public places.
Okay.
But the mere fact that you are leaving or returning is sufficient enough for you to be arrested.
Okay.
So what you have to do is to stay home or wear the mask.
Okay. So as Sheila emphasizes, paragraph 1B of EI 164 is of important note, and the law is on the screen for you. Paragraph 1B says, when you are leaving or returning to your place of abode. So she says, once you are leaving your place of abode or you are returning to your place of abode, you must have the mask on, because the law says when you are leaving and when you are returning. If you are in your car and you have your AC on, you would have left your home or you would have been on your way back to your home. I think I love that definition. So once again, the law as has been placed on your screen. Let's read it all of us together. It says, a person shall wear a face mask, face shield, or any other face covering that covers his or her nose and mouth completely when that person is in a public place or leaving or returning to his or her place of abode. So practically, I think how you concluded your definition, it means once you are not in your home, you are in a public place. You are caught by the law. You are supposed to wear it.
There may be instances where you are not in your home,
okay,
but where you are may be a very private place.
All right.
So for instance, this broadcasting house, if you look at the definition of public place, there are several places within this broadcasting house that fall within the public place.
Okay.
But this studio and the things that happen here, and even the notice at the door, will not easily make it a public place, okay, for which reason we will not come in there if for the time being the actions that we expect to happen under public place definition are not happening.
All right.
However, it could be your home, but the action that may be going on for the time being would make your home a public place.
Okay.
So for instance, you're throwing a party. It's your home, but look at the definition of public place in the law. For the time being, you have given access to the public. You have permitted the public to be there. Whether you took payment for it or not, for the time being where you have gathered, if you're not wearing the mask or the face covering as defined by the law, police officers can come and arrest you.
All right.
We are very much aware of the intendment of the president when he signed this law. We know the processes through which this law came into force. It's supposed to apply strictly for the period of time assigned so that we can all do our best to prevent the spread of coronavirus.
Okay.
And so police isn't going to joke with this.
All right.
We're actually going to apply it strictly.
And for the period of time you talk about is 3 months from when this law, this EI came into force. Let's see if Musah Ahmed is back with us. Thank you very much for making the time once again. Forgive us for the disruption that you suffered. So, what do you say, having listened to Sheila?
Well, I may be tempted to agree with her on the definition of what a public place is. Now, she composed the definition to embody what the law actually specifies.
It wasn't her opinion. She simply read the law.
A public place generally is defined to mean a place where the public have access to. So if you, for instance, when she said you can be arrested in your own house under the provision of Part A, which says that a public place, when you throw up a party and you invite members of the public to your house, in that event, the public have access to the place. And the definition would include, for that particular moment, your house, where the public have access. But you see, the lawmaker was so careful. If you are not caught in the provisions in paragraph A, you will still be caught in paragraph B.
Right.
For instance, if you say that, well, I just sat in my car, and that my car is my private property, I'm enclosed in it, and therefore I'm not in a public place, you will be caught in the sense that you are either leaving your house or you are going to your house, in which case you will be caught by the law. So we definitely have to make a distinction. And the two, you may be arrested and charged for committing the offense in respect of the two provisions. You could be charged for committing the offense at a public place. You could also be charged for being on your way to the house.
Or leaving the house.
Yes.
Yes.
The two may apply at the same time.
Right. Now, earlier...
It depends on the facts.
Okay. Earlier, you were about to educate us on the sanction regime. How does it look like?
Yes. Well, the provisions in Section 6 of the Act specifies the sanctions. Now, it has two main sanctions. The offense creating provision. It gives you two main sanctions. The first one is either a fine of not less than 1,000 penalty units and not more than 5,000 penalty units. In the case of the lesser fine, one penalty unit is 12 Ghana cedis. So you multiply 12 Ghana cedis by 1,000, and that will give you the sum of 12,000 Ghana cedis. The maximum fine, you have to multiply 12 Ghana cedis by 5,000, and that gives you 60,000 Ghana cedis. The second part of the offense, now the judge has a discretion to determine whether to impose a fine or to send you to in prison. There are factors. The judges consider several factors in deciding which part of the punishment should be applied. For instance, if you are, but let me finish with the offense itself. The second part is where you are sentenced to a term of imprisonment of 4 years if you avoid the imposition of a fine. You cannot avoid the imposition of a term of imprisonment. So it's either one of them. If you are lucky and you have the resources, you pay the fine. But the thing is that you may not have the money to also pay the fine, and that will send you to jail. If you are not able to pay the fine, they will confine you until such time that you get the money to pay. So either way, if you are not careful, you will still go to prison.
So
I hope you understand that.
Yes. So simply for not wearing a mask,
yes,
I could be paying a minimum of 12,000 Ghana cedis and a maximum of 60,000 Ghana cedis, or go to jail for 4 years or 10 years.
Yes.
Or I get both.
Yes.
How is that?
No,
Why?
I don't think the law says you should have both. It says either or. You see, I think they have been a bit flexible. For most laws, you can be sentenced to both. But what I read in Section 6 of the law is that either you get a fine or you go to jail. That is what I read in the law. So it appears that they have been magnanimous with the would-be offender. If you are not careful, you either get a fine or you get to go to prison, but not both.
What do you say to people?
Section 6.
What do you say to people who say this is too much?
Well, for those persons, probably they are underrating the effect of the COVID-19 on the economy of Ghana. And, you know, I think they are looking at it as if it is something that is so minute, or the government should not attach so much importance to it. But it's a very serious epidemic that we have. And for that reason, any law that seeks to protect other citizens, if you as an individual decides that you don't care about the pandemic, you could stay in your house and live with it. But the moment you drive out of your house with your COVID-19 on you going to the public place, you must understand the nature of your actions, that you have the tendency to spread it out to persons who are not prepared to accept it.
Okay.
So to that extent, if you go out of your way to spread it, then the lawmaker intends that you should be punished severely for doing that.
All right. I'll get to Sheila, but I'll return to you because there are people who are sending in messages and disagree that being in their car could be said to be a public place for which they must put on the mask or suffer the sanctions that come with it. For example...
But that one, I agree with them. I agree that they will be in their car and not be in a public place. But you see, the second part of the law says, where are you going if you are in your car? You see, if you are in your car parked inside your house or inside your office, then you are not at a public place. But when you drive out of your car, you drive out of your house or your office onto the street, then you are caught by the second part of the law. Not necessarily being in a public place, but you are driving from your house to the office, or you are driving from your office to the house.
All right.
So I don't think they should emphasize on the use of the word public to criticize the law. They should look at the second part.
Right. Okay. Do you find that you are likely to have problems with members of the public who think like those who, have this view? One of them, Divine, he says, my private car is and cannot be said to be a public place, even if I am parked in a public place with my windows rolled up. I seriously do not think that was the reasoning behind the formulation of the law. A public place is a location to which all of the public has access and is not a place exclusively used for a private gathering or any other personal purposes. If one happens to be in a public transport, then that law can hold. This is my humble submission. If I decide to pick any member of the public in my car, then it could hold. I think you are getting yourself into trouble here by your own definitions.
No.
Let me deal with Sarah. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the one who sends this message. Now, so my question was, do you anticipate that in your enforcement you may clash with the public as regards the interpretation that you are putting onto the law?
We are actually anticipating high levels of compliance. If people understand the reason or the rationale for this law, as Lawyer Ahmed said, they would be more willing to comply than not to comply.
Okay.
The whole essence of this law, which is for 3 months, is for us to be able to act in such a manner as to protect ourselves and to protect everybody else.
All right.
So, we are saying, multimedia has chosen to say face mask or face the law.
Right.
We in the police service are saying stay home or wear your face mask.
Okay.
That is the essence of this. If for any reason you cannot stay home, please be in your face mask if the place where you are is not private. So like Divine is saying, he could be in his private car, parked and not in motion, rolled up. Nobody would arrest him for not moving. I'm sure Lawyer Ahmed has already said that again, previously.
All right.
You are in your private car, rolled up in your private space, not moving. But the law says that where you are leaving or you're returning, you could be leaving or returning by jogging, by walking, or by moving in a vehicle. And that is what will catch you, or that is where the issue of you driving alone. What does it take for you to wear a face covering for that period where you are moving to a place where you must necessarily be?
Okay.
To put on the face covering. But
even before paragraph 1B comes in, you you are taking us to the definition of a public place, and which definition said a public place includes
a public way.
A public way.
Which includes a highway and roads.
Which includes highways and roads. So even if you are in your vehicle, once you are on the road, you are in a public place.
Yes, but because it's difficult for people to understand, the second part is easier for them to appreciate the fact that when you are arrested by police, you shouldn't have any difficulty with arguing with the police.
All right.
In any case, the police officer is not the judge to take up your defense.
Okay.
So save your defense for the court.
There is David. David Amwa says, I am watching you from Damango, where wearing a face mask is very unpopular. Only a small percentage of the people here use face masks. Is the law for Accra alone? Can you help us?
No, the law covers the entire territory of Ghana. So from, I believe it's Hamile, to the sea, everywhere in Ghana. So far as you are within Ghana, you're expected to wear face mask or stay home.
So I think, you know, built in the question David asked is your capacity to police compliance, to ensure people are complying. If you're having a lot of people who may not be able or can't afford a face mask, what are you going to do?
We will arrest as far as we can. We will do that randomly. So you do not have excuse to say, Akosia is walking by, Akosia is not wearing her face mask. Why have you arrested me because I'm not wearing my face mask?
Okay.
So in all our police duties, we are going to see to it that everybody is complying with this law. It could be patrol duties, it could be motor traffic duties, it could be a CID officer working not in his uniform because he's in plain clothes, to maybe attend to a crime scene or gather information.
And then they chance on you.
Exactly. And we will arrest you.
Okay. Now, Lawyer Ahmed, there's another gentleman here who says, what about the MPP primaries that took place yesterday? Many people were not wearing the nose masks. What will the police do to them? Okay, we have lost Musah Ahmed there. How would you respond to such a question?
We are not going back to yesterday to go and arrest people.
Right.
But as I sit here, there are police officers who are working and stopping people and arresting people. So if you think that somebody did not wear the face mask yesterday, and so you do not want to wear it today, then you are in trouble.
Okay. So, Ahmed, what do you think? Can they bring such excuse to say, I saw a lot of people during the MPP primaries who were not wearing face masks. You didn't do anything to them, so you cannot be demanding that I wear it or you arrest me?
The law has no such defense. The law has no such defense. If you are caught by the law, you are on your own. You see, and apart from that, you should also note that there are several exemptions that are given under the law. Several people have been given exemptions. And the police officer who, although the police officer is not supposed to be biased in the enforcement of the law, the police may decide to arrest Mr. A and ignore Mr. B and use Mr. B as a witness in court against Mr. A. So you cannot say that I saw other people who were not wearing it, so I also did it. The law does not go like that. Now, with regards to those who have been saying that, well, if I sit in my car and park at Accra Mall, I'm not at a public place, I'm in my private car, I think this law can be read in conjunction with the Criminal Offences Act. We have an offense provision called an attempt to commit an offense. If you go and park at a public place and the police reasonably suspects that you are about to leave and go into the place without a face mask, you can be arrested. So don't think that you are looking at the provisions of the of the Imposition of Restrictions Act in isolation.
There's a question.
There are other provisions as well.
There's a question that came from Damango, where the implication of that question was that many of the people may not be able to afford a face mask. What happens to them?
Many of the people, well, you see, that one, the offense, the act has not made provision. You are talking about your economic situation.
Right.
That is why you have the election. You have the election to stay at home. If you cannot afford to buy a face mask, you must stay at home. It means that you are not working. Because I don't envisage anybody who works or who has an economic activity to do telling the police officer that it is because I don't have money to buy a face mask. If you don't have money to buy a face mask, I'm sorry to say that you must face the law. Because all of us voted for the MPs to go and make laws for all of us.
Right.
I'm not being too strict or, I don't want anybody to say that I am overlooking those who cannot afford. No, I'm not overlooking them. But the law has made a provision, and it says that if you cannot comply with the law, don't come out. So why do you want to come out and tell a police officer that arrest me, but when you arrest me, note that I didn't have money to buy a face mask? I don't think it makes any.
All right. Sheila wanted to say something.
Argument.
Yeah.
In fact, on that point, the law does not restrict the face covering to just the ones we are wearing. So a face shield is a face mask in the sense.
Or a face covering.
Or a face covering. So it can be your handkerchief, but it must completely cover your mouth and your nose.
Right.
So it can be your handkerchief that you can decide to tie such that it will cover.
Right.
It can be your cloth that you can decide to tie. So let's not put up excuses and risk spreading
the point you are
disease.
making here is that you can't find an excuse because the law has given you room. If you can't afford face mask or a face shield or whatever it is,
improvise.
You can improvise. You can get a piece of cloth, you can use your handkerchief. I've seen people who are using some paper somehow, and making, masks to use by themselves. All right, that's very interesting. Now let's get to this issue where we played the video for everybody else to see. Can we play this video again? And then we'll have Lawyer Ahmed, tell us what the police is doing or what the security officers there are doing is right or wrong. And then we'll hear from the Director of Public Affairs of the police herself. Let's watch this.
Okay, COVID-19 task force simna amuju medi omugino. So mushia na se wonhye bia won se
Atika ni nose mask ne sana body ase. On say nose mask.
Okay.
Na ono so ye be ma na adwuma ye. Enti obi a ho hye me se why one dey say won sha. Ya do be na tu ni.
You have to be fair. You have to. No.
It is the Omudia Shan is M7 Titiam Renew. You said they will. Do is a mammy wins so or match now. A man is say on corporate.
Okay. I was in shape. More money, but then you know.
Yeah, we be so see that. Now what's it? Nose mask. It's yes, we are here. What COVID-19 Municipal Assembly COVID-19 Task Force. Yeni, yati ya gumse. Obi a yebe hu a won share nose mask no. That's what say. Yan fa ba enkan. Yan mu bo. Boko. Beti gata mu ya gata mu so efi. Surroundings so efi. Wo yo ba na ya chi wa wo be pra. Bema de ya do be so gata ni. Na serve as a deterrent. So we can man here already gata ni wa. Wo fi health directly to Saban. One director and then the ticket. Director na kasa max no. Ono de on set. And I'm gina omo. And I'm yin so me aduma no. Okay. Director no say catch. This is
Okay.
Once the dasha mra no. Na ba butu o ticket nim. Wo ye ni pa mi ensa na mo ticket nim. Na wo wa de say wo che dia. And running no baby. Nti ono na o ye aduma e wo pa no.
Okay, it does. It's okay. I said that you made the course. Didn't you? One more. One share nose mask. You don't say. One more tete.
All right. So Musah Ahmed, what do you say? These prison officers, this is their way of enforcing the law. They are a task force by the municipal assembly.
Well, I watched the video and I asked myself whether the punishment they were exacting on the offenders constituted the prescribed punishment under the law. That is Section 6. And I answered in the negative. I don't think they had that right to subject them to what I would call that inhuman treatment. Because you see, the Constitution says that the dignity of all Ghanaians are inviolable. No person shall be subjected to any form of indignity. Now, we have a law, and the law has specified offenses. So when you arrest the person, you take the person to court. In fact, the law has even specified the mode and manner of arrest. You have to tap the person, tell him the reasons for his arrest, and his right to a lawyer of his choice. Now, it is only a court of law who has a right to impose the sanctions prescribed by the law. The police, the duty of the police officer or the security officer is to arrest an offender, but they do not have the right to punish. They do not have that right.
What if the offender agrees with the enforcer that, look, you are taking me to court. I'm likely to be asked to pay 12,000 minimum. That's the minimum, barest minimum. I'll be asked to pay 12,000. Please let me weed or give me a few lashes. I'll be fine with that. Is that not allowed?
I think if you do that, it may amount to corruption. You are corrupting the peace officer. Okay. Then that could also be an offense.
All right.
You don't have that. You don't have that choice. The police officer may ignore you to go using his discretion.
Okay.
But you see, once he has arrested you, he must let the law take its course.
Okay.
He cannot come to a private charter with you whereby you decide to go and clean a gutter and leave. That may amount to corruption, as I said.
All right. All right. Now, Sheila, what do you say? Earlier, we had information as confirmed by the Police Public Relations PRO in Kumasi, in Ashanti region, that they too, they had their task force. And what the task force was doing is if they saw you without the mask in a car, they bring you down. In a public transport, the driver's mate, they bring you down. You weed or you do something else, after which they give you a mask or insist that you get a mask. Okay.
So regional security councils, municipal security councils, district security councils, seeing how dangerous this disease is and realizing that people did not simply wear the mask, not for any reason, but maybe they take delight in it, held meetings and decided to find ways of enforcing mask wearing.
Okay.
And so one of them is what we saw, where you could hear somebody saying it's Sunyani. So they set up task forces, which included security services, to give communal labor as sanctions. But like Lawyer Ahmed said, and like so here you did not see a police officer anyway, but like Lawyer Ahmed said, as soon as it came to the attention of the Inspector General of Police, the Inspector General of Police commanded his men that regional security councils may decide on this, but if it does not have any force of law, you cannot do it. In any case, police officers do not mete out sanctions, so do not do it. And I know that he has even gone ahead, like have some interaction with the other stakeholders as to the reason why police officers cannot be part of this. And so you will not see police officers being part of this. But let me say that this incident in particular happened in time when this EI was not in force.
Okay.
With this executive instrument in force, you know, it has specifically been mentioned, police officers.
Exactly.
So police officers are going to arrest you for your failure to wear the mask in a public place or when you are moving. And when we do, we will put you before court.
Okay.
From feedback, we noticed that a lot of people would rather want to do the communal service than to go to court. Unfortunately, you cannot elect to do that, not with this law or not under this law. And so when you are arrested, we will take you to court.
Right.
And you know the harsh sanctions. So we are actually hoping that we will comply for this period of 3 months so that we wouldn't have to go through arresting anybody and processing them for court.
Right. Musah Ahmed, what can I do if an officer does not respect what the IGP has said to his men, as Sheila has just told us, that they do not have any right or power to do any such thing which is not backed by law? If anybody did it to me on the streets, what can I do?
If the policeman goes ahead to violate your right under Chapter 5 of the Constitution, under Article 33, you can sue the police officer in the High Court to enforce your human rights provisions. So you have the choice. If the policeman goes outside of the law to enforce a sanction which is not prescribed by law, you can sue him. Because you see, in that event, he will not be performing his functions.
Okay.
Because the law that creates the police service presumes that official actions are done in a regular manner. Official functions, including arrest, it has to be done in a regular manner. If you do it wrongly, you may have yourself to blame in a private suit against you.
Okay. So once you step out of the law in an attempt to enforce the law, you have lost the protection of the law, even as a law enforcer. Sheila, he says that people can sue, take private suits, but I don't have money. I can't afford a lawyer to take a suit and get me compensation for the violation of my human rights. Can't I complain to the IGP?
You can. You can actually complain to the next senior man or next senior woman. Every police officer has a commander. Every police officer has a supervisor or a senior person.
Okay.
So you have the right to complain to that senior person. And we have several actions that amount to misconduct in the police service.
Okay.
But I think lawyer was talking about violation of rights under the Constitution.
Right.
For which reason you may even go to Shraj, where I don't believe you have to pay. But once a police officer does anything you do not like or you think is not within the law, please report to the next supervisor. If you think that you do not even want to go to the next supervisor, that's why we have PPSB, which we formerly called PIPS, the Police Professional Service Bureau. Its Standards Bureau will be there to receive your complaints. In fact, people are even sending complaints to us via social media.
Okay.
And we take them.
All right.
So please. And you know, if you think that you will, as Lawyer Ahmed said, you will bribe a police officer within this law, you'll be arrested together with a police officer. Okay. Because both the giver and the taker are liable.
All right.
So please, let's just comply with the law so we are not, police is not compelled to arrest you. If you do not comply with the law, you leave us with no choice.
And you say here on COVID and the law, we say face mask or face the law. But the police, your mantra is?
Stay home or wear the mask.
Stay home or wear the mask. I'll take your very final comments. Lawyer Musah Ahmed, what would you say finally, particularly looking at this issue, not from a perspective as a lawyer, but from a perspective as someone who is also concerned that we have a public health situation? Because I get that from listening to you, even as you talk the law.
Yes. Well, not speaking out of the context of the law, I would like to say that we can only bring this pandemic to its knees together if we adhere to the rules of avoidance, which I know part of this law has specified. Let us use the face mask whenever we are at a public place. Let's use it even when we are at home and other parties are there and they are not family members. Let us use it whenever we are driving our cars outside and we have other persons in the car. And let us use it whenever we have to use a public place. It will do us a lot of good. It will save the state a lot of resources, putting police into public to look out for offenders, arrest them, wasting their time and resources. I think we should just learn to obey the law.
All right.
And that will help all of us.
Thank you. Yes, Sheila, what will you say?
Okay, so I want to talk about age. So we know that 12 years, people who are 12 years and below are dolly incapax. But
what you mean is that if you are 12 years and below, the law of crime doesn't know you.
Yes.
Okay.
However, if you decide to send a child 12 years or below out there in this era of COVID, you are putting the child in harm's way. You are putting the child in danger. So if you do not cover up the nose and mouth completely, it is you, the adult, who sent the child out there, or who by your actions the child got exposed, that will be punished.
Okay.
And so we shouldn't think that children can just go out there, you expose them out there, and then because they cannot be arrested, nobody will face the consequence.
All right.
By your own action of exposing the child to that kind of danger, you can be arrested.
All right. I'd like to say, because it's a very special day, I'd like to say Happy Father's Day to you, Musah Ahmed, and thank you very much for making time. I know you had a very busy schedule, and you made the time right after you touched down from your flight. You made the time to get settled and assist us with this very good education. Thank you very much, Musah Ahmed.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to also explain the law to our fellow citizens.
Thank you very much. And Musah Ahmed is a senior lawyer and very well known, and as you can tell from how he explains the law. Also, Sheila Abeye-Bachman, also a lawyer and the Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service. You want to say Happy Father's Day to somebody?
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to say a Happy Father's Day to my husband. My father is late, but I have several uncles. To the Inspector General of Police, to all the men in the Ghana Police Service who help ensure that we move about. Like today, I am seated here. When I was coming, I didn't come through harm's way. Samson is here, and everybody here is working. It is because of your hard work. So to all the policemen, thumbs up. Today is your day. Enjoy.
All right. And Mr. Bachman, as you heard, Happy Father's Day to you. I'd like to also say Happy Father's Day to Katie, our boss of this place, and Happy Father's Day to Professor Sky Gau at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. This show will be repeated tomorrow at 11 a.m. so you can catch it if you missed it. This has been Covered Under Law, your legal light and help law in these trying times. With me, Samson Ladi Anyanini. My guests have been Musah Ahmed, head of firm Ahmed Legal Consult, and Sheila Abeye Bakwan, Director of Public Affairs, Ghana Police Service. Have a good afternoon.